Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. All praise and gratitude is for the sake of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. We seek His help and forgiveness from the evil of our souls and from the sins that we have committed. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His peace and blessings on our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all of his righteous followers till the day of judgment. And may Allah make us of those righteous followers. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah, we were discussing today the importance of knowing the severity of oppression and corruption on earth, especially while we were talking about Qarun, a very important character in the story of Musa alayhi salam. So we have some very well placed ayat, mashallah, subhanallah. It's the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed it. It's almost like a story of the fact of how to think about wealth in the right way. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really puts a really good perspective of whether wealth is good or bad or neutral. How do we look at wealth? And today we recited the ayat, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min adabin alim, where Allah talks about, shall I tell you about a transaction that will protect you from the punishment of the hellfire, which is the real success. So Allah uses the word transactions because people are designed to talk about transactions and what gives me the best value or best return on investment. And so Allah knows His creation, and He talks to us in those manners of transactions and what is it that will make you successful. So in here He also tells us how to look at wealth in the right way, especially. And then right after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Qarun and where things went wrong for him, because he was also given wealth and authority, and how he responded to that. So in Surah Qasas, verse number 77, Ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a principle. If we want to even try to memorize this, it's a very powerful principle with just few words in Arabic, which is وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. This is the principle that we can extract from this ayah. The full ayah says, وَابْتَغِي فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيا وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ وَلَا تَبْغِي الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. But seek through that which Allah has given you, and seek from that which Allah has given you the home of the hereafter. So everything that you've been given, wealth by default is not bad, but seek from it the home of the hereafter. And then this is the principle, وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, and do not forget your share of this dunya. So Allah does not want us to give up this dunya in the pursuit of righteousness, but Allah wants you to take what's needed from this world and use it for the transaction of the best investment for the hereafter. And then Allah says, and do good as Allah has done to you, and desire not corruption on the land. Indeed, Allah does not like the corruptors. So you see here two things that could go wrong. Number one is to use the blessings Allah has given us in the wrong way, and the second thing is to cause corruption on earth. And one of the biggest corruptions on earth that happens through wealth is interest. Right? Today I was sharing a story of the Uber driver, and he was driving an Escalade, and I talked to him, and I'm like, what else do you do? That's a pretty nice Uber ride. And he's like, I sell life insurance, and it's based off of compounded interest. If you don't mind, I can do a Zoom session with you. And then he was like, your daughter's here in the car, they can be millionaires by the time they're 40. So I was like, man, this sounds like a good deal. So I'm like, let me see what he's all up to. And it was basically about life insurance and interest and compounded interest. I'm like, what's the catch? And then in my mind I was like, the catch is you're giving up your akhirah, right? You're going in war against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what do you want to do, right? It's a transaction. So these things are going to be thrown at us all the time. And this was ayah number 77 and 78. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about because how things went wrong after this ayah, which is قَالَ إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى إِلْمٍ عِنْدِي أَوَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَهْلَكَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنَ الْقُرُونِ مَنْ هُوَ أَشَدُّ مِنْ قُوَّةٍ وَأَكْثَرُ جَمْعًا وَلَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذُنُوبِهِمُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. So Qarun is now mentioned in the next ayah, and he said, I am only given what I have because of my knowledge, because of my skill. And scholars have actually mentioned he had special knowledge, which is, some said he had knowledge of alchemy, which is to take products and turn them into something very valuable. He also had knowledge of magic, because black magic was prevalent. And others said he had the ability to manipulate people, labor management in a negative way, where he could get the most out of people by abusing them and extracting the most wealth for himself through corrupt labor management policies. So with that, he says, everything I have is because of what I deserve and because of the knowledge I have. Then Allah challenges and says, does he not know that Allah has destroyed before him generations that had greater than what he has in power and greater in accumulation of wealth? And that is Ad and Thamud and people like that who built literally palaces in mountains, right? We don't even see that in our times today. We have nice architecture which is mesmerizing, but the architecture of the past is even more advanced than what we have now. People talked about that it's, our architecture has actually gone lower than what people used to have before. And Ad and Thamud used to be at the peak of architecture and technology, and today nobody even knows, like it's wiped out. Like there's no resemblance of Ad and Thamud. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, does he not remember what happened to the people before who made those claims? Where are they now? And then Allah calls them criminals. But the criminals about their sins will be asked. So inshallah we'll continue in another setting, but this is just to give you an idea of how everything is placed in the Quran for a reason. So first Allah talks about wealth, how to look at wealth, how to use the proper transactions, how to use any blessing that we've been given to attain akhirah. And then he talks about the opposite, which is what happened to Qarun, where people have knowledge but then they attribute it to themselves or any type of skill, and they say, oh, I deserve it. And that happens to us too sometimes, right? We in the moment of it, we might think that, wow, I'm such a great personality and everybody loves me, not realizing that it's Allah that gave it to us. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have the proper idea of wealth and blessings and skill set, and to use those for spreading the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لكم إنه هو الغفور الرحيم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.